80 or 90% of the cacao and chocolate market is dominated by 5 to 10 companies, more or less, and they, for the last 50 or 60 years, have been choosing to endorse and support these malpractices, slave labor, child labor.
It's just really hard-baked in supply chain at this time. What we want to do is to accelerate change, bring consumer awareness to light, and recognizing that mass market chocolate doesn't necessarily need to contain cocoa. We can easily substitute it with alternative ingredients that taste, I dare say, better. WNWN stands originally for Waste Not, Want Not. We call ourselves an alternative ingredients company. So we're looking at creating substitutes for unethical, unsustainable ingredients. We'll be focused on other ingredients like chocolate, coffee, tea, vanilla. Our top concerns with the chocolate industry is that, well, 70% of the world's chocolate is just produced in West Africa. It's produced in ways that emits quite a lot of carbon emissions. It incurs a lot of deforestation. And because of climate change now, it's also incurring more because you can only grow cacao plus minus 10 degrees of the equator. Labor practices for very industrialized, commoditized cacao use child and slave labor. I mean, this is kind of the way the market is working now for very mass market chocolates. And you have to start wondering, if climate change is affecting us and the yields of cacao are going down, how are we supposed to meet this demand? And so that's what we're trying to tackle.
I had the very first idea when I was cooking some potatoes. I leant over the stove and smelt the steam, and it smelled like cocoa, like hot chocolate. And I realized there must be something in the skins of potatoes that's also in chocolate. And I started thinking, you know, why does chocolate taste like chocolate? Now we've ended up not using potatoes, but that's where the genesis was, that scientific question of could you do it? Our process is very similar to how cacao is turned into chocolate, and we followed that same philosophy. So when you make chocolate, you get the cacao beans, they're fermented typically on the floor of the forest where they're grown, then they get roasted, and then they get shipped somewhere and ground, melanged with some sugar added and some extra fats, and you end up with chocolate. We follow that 4-step process, except we use something that's just not cacao beans. It's other plant-based matter, so cereals like barley and legumes. We ferment them using our own proprietary suite of microbes. We then effectively roast them, and then we end up with a brown set of ingredients, pastes and powders and liquids, and we just pop those into a conventional chocolate making machine, and we add some sugar, etc., to match that fingerprint that's in a conventional chocolate. Our chocolate tastes very like conventional chocolate. It's dark brown, it snaps, it has a gloss, a sheen. When you pop it in your mouth, because of the temperature of your mouth, it will start liquefying and melting in a delicious way. You will get these notes of raisins and dates and roasted nuts and some hints of coffee and some red berries as well. We want to create a very ethical, a sustainable version of chocolate that tastes and behaves exactly the same, but we're using local and regional ingredients and local and regional producers as well. We like to say we are not anti-chocolate. We love it. We just recognize that as the market is growing, there's simply no way to actually supply industrialized, commoditized cacao the way we are doing it now. We chose to work with some of those cereals precisely because they're low carbon, low water usage, and they're grown in multiple different parts of the world. The water footprint of our cacao-free chocolate will be 80 to 90% less than an equivalent chocolate, and the carbon footprint will be around the same as well. We're in an age now with consumers who are now buying things like alternative proteins, alternative dairies. There's an awareness of how damaging some of the world's favorite foods are, ethically, sustainability-wise, and I think now there's an appetite for people to seek out alternative profiles that incur less harm. This is the sound of the future. Hey!